Astronomy, exploration, mythology, metalworking, Donne's images and metaphors draw on every kind of fact and experience. A century and a half later, Dr. Johnston was to call such almost excessive ingenuity metaphysical, thus giving a label to Donne and his followers that has lasted ever since. Everything is put to rhetorical use, even the sun in the sky, if need be, as here in his poem, The Sun Rising, when what is addressed isn't the loved one, but the sun itself.
Busy old fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? Must to thy motions lovers' seasons run? Saucy pedantic wretch, go chide late schoolboys and sour apprentices. Go tell court huntsmen that the king will rise. Call country ants to harvest offices. Love, all alike, no season knows nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. Thy beams so reverent and strong, why shouldst thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink? But that I would not lose her sight so long. If her eyes have not blinded thine, look, and tomorrow late tell me whether both Indias of spice and mine be where thou left'st them, or lie here with me. Ask for those kings whom thou saw'st yesterday, and thou shalt hear, all here in one bed lay. She is all states, and all princes' eye. Nothing else is. Princes do but play us. Compared to this, all honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. Thou, son, art half as happy as are we, in that the world's contracted thus. Thine age asks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done by warming us. Shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere.
And there is drama in Donne. It's sometimes forgotten that Donne was just as much an Elizabethan as Shakespeare was. This was, of course, the greatest age of English drama. And in such a poem as The Apparition, Donne creates a drama in miniature, an imagined, part playful, part terrifying address to a young woman who has refused him.
When by thy scorn, O murderess, I am dead, and that thou think'st thee free from all solicitation from me, then shall my ghost come to thy bed, and thee, feigned vestal, in worse arms shall see. Then thy sick taper will begin to wink, and he whose thou art then, being tired before, will, if thou stir or pinch to wake him, think thou call'st for more, and in false sleep will from thee shrink. And then, poor aspen wretch, neglected thou, bathed in a cold quicksilver sweat, wilt lie, a verier ghost than I. What I will say, I will not tell thee now, lest that preserve thee. And since my love is spent, I had rather thou shouldst painfully repent, than by my threatenings rest still innocent.
That sense of the dramatic carries over into Donne's religious poems, the best known of which are the 19 commonly called the Holy Sonnets. It's not known precisely when they were composed. It has been argued that many of them may well have been written before his late ordination at the age of 42. They share the forceful voice of Donne's love poems.
Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure. Then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell. And poppy or charms can make us sleep as well, and better than thy stroke. Why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die.
Even in the extremity of illness, with his mind as so often set on death and punishment, Donne couldn't resist his habitual ingenuity. 7 or 8 years before his own death, while seriously ill, he could still play on the sound of his own name, Donne, Donne, and on the similar chime between the sun in the sky and thy Son, God's Son, a hymn to God the Father.
Wilt thou forgive that sin where I begun, which was my sin, though it were done before? Wilt thou forgive that sin through which I run and do run still, though still I do deplore? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. Wilt thou forgive that sin by which I have won others to sin and made my sin their door? Wilt thou forgive that sin which I did shun a year or two, but wallowed in a score? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. I have a sin of fear, that when I have spun my last thread, I shall perish on the shore. But swear by thyself that at my death thy sun shall shine as he shines now and heretofore. And having done that, thou hast done. I fear no more.
One of John Donne's patrons and admirers was an aristocratic lady called Magdalen Herbert. It's likely that Donne gave her manuscript copies of some of his poems, which weren't published until after his death in 1631. And if so, they were probably read by one of Magdalen Herbert's sons, George.